For me, the hardest part of 15 days to slow the spread is usually the first 600 days. You know, none of that makes sense. We've all been told we had to stay and shut the doors and not make contact with anyone unless it was necessary. And for some damn reason, a certain number of us went out and bought all the toilet paper we could find. Why? That's crazy. Listen, basically we were a herd of panicked cattle, and we were searching for answers from our leaders. The general consensus from all of them was to shut everything down. Unless it was branded essential. I was an essential worker. The entire time I showed up day in and day out, and although everything I heard on the news was I was probably going to get sick, and I was probably going to die, still alive, I think. I contracted COVID in July of 2020. I took 2 weeks off of work. I quarantined. It was probably about 2 bad days. I went back to work. Everything was fine. I worked in a facility that had 130 people, and we never had a mass outbreak at all. So today I make the argument to you that any government mandated lockdown outside of the 15 days to slow the spread caused more harm than it helped. The mandated lockdowns created a wealth transfer. They created more. They created a environment for people to get mental illnesses, and we just got to ensure that this shit never happens again. So one of the greatest wealth transfers in history happened. Auxiliary death and health damages caused by lockdown mandates. And we as a whole must never comply and never let this happen again, so long we should live. So the mandatory lockdowns, they cause so much more harm than we could have ever imagined. Adverse effects, and as time continues, we will see the gravity of it, and it will start to become apparent. The wealth transfer made the wealthiest people that much wealthy, and it inadvertently hurt a lot of people as well. So, what I bring to you today is one of the largest wealth transfers in history went down during the lockdowns. The world's top 5 of the world's billionaires, they had accumulated $101.7 billion. And who do I mean when I say that? Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, Warren Buffett, and Larry Ellison. They all saw their wealth come up during the time of the lockdown. And you can see right here, and this is according to inequality.org. So, what else? Because of that, small businesses just went to shit. Of course small businesses are going to go to crap because you have Amazon who delivers everything to your door, and everyone around is telling you not to leave your house. Makes sense, right? Here's a really weird kicker. It increased global poverty. What does that mean? When you look over here, according to The Guardian, the U.S. monthly average poverty rate went up by 2%. In the U.K., 700,000 people went below the poverty line. And here's the worst of all of the statistics. 75 million people in India went below the poverty line. Being poor sucks, but being poor in India is that much. It's so bad. So who are we really helping here? Honestly. I do believe that we all kind of just went with it at first because we really did want to help. We wanted to do our part. I don't think any human being wants to harm another one. So we tried to do what we could. And 15 days to slow the spread was repeated over and over again. And then, yeah, we're just saying 15 days ain't so bad. We'll just shut it down for 2 weeks. We'll be okay. And then, we don't want to overload the hospitals. We don't want to run out of ventilators. It was just fear tactics. It was scary. It was a scary moment. And so when you remember, speaking of overflowing the hospitals, remember New York and Los Angeles, they needed to deal with the overflow of the hospitals. So they sent the 2 ships, Mercy and Comfort. So Mercy went into LA, and Mercy took in a total of 77 patients. They had enough room for 1,000 people, and they were equipped for COVID. Comfort went into New York, and they took, I believe, 182 patients. So when you say overflow, that doesn't seem like much. And little known fact, hospitals like to work close to capacity. It's a business. as well as a place to practice medicine. So of course they want to work close to capacity. And there was even an article written by Lee Riley. He's a professor of the chair of infectious disease and vaccinology at UC Berkeley School of Public Health. He said, and I quote, "The confusion over whether shutdowns work is understandable, considering the states with the toughest mandates are experiencing some of the biggest spikes." No shit. Of course. That means they don't work. Biggest, toughest states are experiencing the biggest spike. I get it. Correlation doesn't equal causation. I took Humanities 101. I understand what you're saying. But it doesn't add up. Okay. Listen, we tried to stop the spread of COVID, but we forgot that locking down people had its own problems. So right here, you can see, according to the CDC, depression, mental health diagnosis went up 24% in kids 5 to 11 from 2019 to 2020, and then it went up 31% in kids aged 12 to 17 from 2019 to 2020. And then here's the worst part of it all. Self-harm from kids aged 13 to 18 went up 300%. Because guess what? When you're feeling depressed and you want to hurt yourself, the worst thing you can do is tell me that I can't talk to anybody. And guess what? You're stuck at home alone by yourself. Sick, dude. That sounds awesome. Again, I can't stress this enough, but we all complied and did what we did because we wanted to help people. We wanted to do right. And then we listened to the dipshit plans of our governors and leaders. This can never happen again, guys. In order for this type of thing to never happen again, we need to demand accountability. We need to find out how this happened, the COVID, and then create legislation that protects us from these overbearing government control policies. So this has already been tried before, right? So we need to take accountability. In 1918, when the flu pandemic broke out, the CDC did this exact same thing, masked everybody up, and then locked down healthy people. Didn't work back then. It didn't work now. So another thing we can do is pay close attention to local politics. Demand accountability from your representatives. Make sure you vote for the ones who mostly represent your values as a person. Sadly, you don't have to pay attention to policy, but once it shows up at your front door and tells you that you can't go outside anymore, it's too late. Look behind you. There was your line in the sand. Now, the number one step I think we can take in moving forward is firing Dr. Fauci. He was pro-lockdowns and pro-lockdown mandates. Still pro-lockdowns and pro-lockdown mandates. I get it. He knows more about viruses than I do, but he also was okay with beagles getting their faces eaten alive by flies. So I think he doesn't know shit. Today, I argued that lockdown mandates cause more harm than they help by aiding in one of the largest wealth transfers in history, created so many more health issues in the youngest and poverty issues. We also have to make sure this shit doesn't happen again. Listen, we talked about the shift of wealth and how the top 5 billionaires became so much more billionaire-ish. We also talked about the rise in depression and self-harm and poverty. And also, we got to make sure that we fire Dr. Fauci. Listen, I'm a first-generation immigrant. I understand the difference between a free country and one that isn't. When you see how easily they took it from underneath us and how we were willing to comply, and they still hold the possibility to take it away again, they still have mandates they're pushing, and it's been 2 years later, guys. 15 days to slow the spread? I think not. I've had enough.